Welcome everybody to a new analysis of Tradomics focus on the Swiss stocks. So before we dive into this video analysis, I would like to remind you all that you can subscribe to our channel in order to receive the notifications about our videos as soon as possible. Since these analyses are time sensitive, the sooner you get the notification, the better it is for you to manage your position on your favorite stocks. So having said that, let's start with with Roche. And according to our latest analysis, we were saying that from this top occurred on the 29th of July 2024, we could have a possible retracement or downtrend to begin a new, potentially yearly upward cycle. And actually, we have had this retracement that touched the first Fibonacci level, 23%. And after that, we have had a bounce back to the upside, but we did not break this top. We were really close it, but we didn't break it. So therefore, here we are still having a potential T plus 5. So here we could put the T plus 5 with question mark. And after a total duration of 24 bars, here we are developing a new T plus 2. So this is potentially a new T plus 2 upward cycle. So for those of you that are not familiar with this analysis, you can always find references in the introduction to T cycle analysis. In order to develop a T plus 2, we need overall time of 2 degrees less, so basically a weekly upward cycle that is not breaking this top. So therefore, we cannot go back to 310 Swiss francs before an entire week, at least. Therefore, here we are with the Friday candle at 5 bars, so it will be really tough to return to the tops, but rather, statistically speaking, we can proceed to the downside. In order to understand how long we can proceed to the downside, we have to study the downward cycles. So first of all, we were also saying that we were two forces, one to begin at T plus 5, potentially T plus 5, and another one to close at T plus 3. Now, here, if we gauge the total duration until this candle, we have 64 bars. Whilst if we gauge the total duration until here, it's 88 bars. The first cycle has been divided in this one is a T plus 2, and now here we have another cycle that lasted 21 bars. So basically this cycle is a T plus 1, and from here we have another cycle that at the moment can be not just a T plus 1, but even a T plus 2 or T plus 3. So the situation here is a little bit tricky to understand because this is quite a big cycle that potentially is not even a T plus 3, but a T plus 4. And with T plus 4, we can sub-segment the cycles in the first T plus 2, and then here we have something else that can be divided into first T plus 1, another T plus 1, which can add its end here, and here we might have another T plus 1. But in this case, it's already negative. So therefore, we might expect the first weekly downward cycle, which is negative, rebounds back to the upside, and the new weekly downward cycle that will be negative, of course, because this is the sum of first weekly downward cycle and second weekly downward cycle. And this downward trend will allow us to close the T+3, and eventually we can also close at T+4 because we are at 145 bars, and we couldn't close the T+4 on this low because we didn't have enough time to close the T+4 here. So statistically speaking, for the next week and even beyond next week, we can have um, a, a downtrend that will allow to close this T+4 and this T+3. So be really careful on Roche, because also here, if we have the new T+5, we cannot go back to the stop before 48 days. So basically, we need more downtrend to allow this T+5 to get the right shape and then eventually return to the tops. So here we have the first support. We have had a weekly cycle that has lasted 8 days. So we might have another 3 days until 11 days of the downtrend to close the weekly downward cycle. Then a push back to the upside to close also the upward weekly cycle, and then potentially a return back to the downside. Okay, so if the framing is correct, this is basically the main way we can proceed with the price. So let's move to the next one, which is Novartis. In the last analysis, we were saying about Novartis that from this low, we were expecting return or a bounce back to the upside because we were expecting a new cycle in development. And namely, this cycle is T+3, because we have had the first T+2, then the second T+2, and basically with this candle we can now generate a T+3. So we closed the first T+3, and now we are on the second T+3. So first of all, let's update the chart here. So analysis correct. Here we have had a really nice push to the upside. And we were also saying that this top potentially could have been the beginning of T+3. Now, let's gauge the total duration and let's see whether this is right or not. So, because the T+5 here is positive, and basically we have reached a total duration of 231 days. Here we can have two considerations to make. So the first one is that we have enough days to close a T+5 and to begin a new T+5, because 231 bars are basically encompassed between 190 and 338 bars. But the second thing is that we can also proceed to the upside until its maximum duration, which is 338 days. So we are in a situation where we can continue the uptrend, but we have to be also aware that potentially a new T+5 can be generated whenever the funds want. So in order to better understand at which point in time we are, let's have a look at the downwards cycles. So first of all, here we have this cycle that lasted 24 bars. So we have already the minimum duration here to begin eventually a new T plus 2, but it's not given by fact that from tomorrow we're going to have a new T plus 2. So here we have also to understand which kind of cycle could have been generated. So if we gauge the total duration here, we have potentially a new T plus 2. So as for Roche, here we have another T plus 2. And we cannot go back to the tops before 7-8 days at least. So we have the minimum duration to close a T plus 2, but be careful, because if from Monday we're going to have a bounce back to the upside, which will allow to close the first weekly upward cycle, then this swing will be another checkpoint in case the price will return back. Okay, so here we have to understand if they wanted to start from this swing a new T plus 2 or not. So we have to monitor over time the strength of the price, or basically the bounce back to the upside, and then have other swings and understand whether those swings will be checkpointed that will be broken up subsequently. So given that on Novartis we have basically positive trend, let's monitor over the next days what will be the behavior of the price. Okay, we can have the bounce back to the upside, but we can also return to this low in order to close the T plus 2. So now it's not really possible to understand whether they will return back to the upside immediately or they will consume time before it. So the key level here will be at 97.60 Swiss francs. And eventually another checkpoint is this one at 95.62 Swiss francs. So that is the situation on Novartis. There is a tendency to keep the uptrend in shape, but also keep in the back of your mind that we have also enough time to close the T plus 5 and eventually to have let's say a sharp retracement. Okay, also another thing before going on to the next stop is that we have now 218 bars, but here we don't have the sufficient and necessary condition to close this T plus 5. So in order to close this T plus 5, we need more days on the downside. Okay, so this is another thing to keep into consideration. 215 bars are not so much to close a T plus 5. Therefore, from the T plus 5 downward cycle, we have enough days to eventually go to the upside and then return to the downside in order to have a T plus 3 that can complete its shape and then complete also the T plus 5. Without going too much into the future, here is what the situation is will look like in the next days. So be careful from next week, and let's see how much strength there will be for eventually for a bounce to the upside, or if the price will keep going down. Okay, so you have also the targets or the support area, and let's have a look into the next episode. So let's move to the next one. On Nestle, the situation doesn't look brilliant as for the last analysis that we issued. So basically here, the problem is that we might have a T plus 5 on yearly downward cycle negative. And the bad news is that this yearly downward cycle turned into negative after 100 bars, which is um, pretty soon. So we have potentially other 90 days in which the funds can push the price further to the downside. Here I have actually to leave this hypothesis in which we were saying that we could have had a Bayer tongue, a T plus 2 Bayer tongue, because here we don't have really much strength to push the price to the upside. So here we have a cycle in which we have a T plus 4 or T plus 5 that ended as run here. And here we potentially have another T plus 3 or T plus 4, which will have its end below this swing. So in any case, we have to continue to proceed to the downside. Also because from this top, we had what? We had a duration of 31 bars. So first T plus 2 and second T plus 2, they made a T plus 3. So now we have a T plus 3, and then you see that in 3 days the price retraced quite a lot. So here we are in a downtrend, and what we can say on top also for the last analysis, we can proceed to the downside until the minimum duration of a T plus 5, which is 190 days, so until at least November. So now be really careful on Nestle. From this low to this low, we add a T plus 1. So I can also update the chart here as a T plus 1. And now we are basically on, we have just started a potentially a T plus 3 upward cycle. So let's be really careful in this case. Here we don't have a Bayer tongue, but just a T plus 2. And that's it. So Nestle is not in a brilliant shape. Potential targets. We don't have particular references from the years in 2020 and even before 2020. So of course this is a support area, 86.20 Swiss francs, in which the price has started bouncing back here and here, but that's the situation. So if this is a T plus 4, then we might have at most 160 days to stop the downtrend, so until the October 30. But if it's a T plus 5, and it has the shape of a T plus 5 because of the conditions that we have several days here over this low, and also we broke up this swing and this swing, then we might have more days to the downside. Okay, so this is in line with the previous analysis, and let's see to what extent this T plus 4 or T plus 5 will continue to go down. So let's move to the next one, onto Swisslife. On UBS, the situation doesn't look as brilliant as Swiss Life, because during the last analysis, we were flagging the possibility that from this low, we could have a T plus 5, but we were still watching carefully the downtrend to better understand whether this was Bayertong encompassed uh, in a first T plus 5 plus Bayertong and a second T plus 5. Now, the thing is that the market gave us additional information. The first information is that this candle broke up this swing. And we were expecting further downtrend because here there was a T plus 2 that was already negative. And actually, the duration of this T plus 2 has been of 27 days, which is close to the minimum duration of a T plus 2 monthly downward cycle. But with this swing, we broke up this one, and we have not seen so much strength to the upside. Actually, the price for for the last entire week is traded over the moving average 200 period. Therefore, here I have the feeling, or by applying the rules, here we have really a T plus 5 because we haven't seen such strength to the upside. So I cannot say at the moment that from here we have a new T plus 5 because the price haven't reached this first level checkpoint levels, this second checkpoint levels, and this third checkpoint levels. But actually we were pushing back from the moving average 21 period, sorry, the moving average 50 periods, and now we are below the moving average 200 period. Therefore, here I would say that this is a T plus 5. This cycle is negative. We have closed the first T plus 4, 123 bars. And now we are on the second T plus 4. But because this T plus 4 belongs to a T plus 5 that is negative, then we have to return back to the minimum lows here at 22.53 Swiss francs within a time range of between 94 days. So between 94 days, which means 94 days, between the 12th of December and let's say March 2025. And I tell it to investors, for those that are evaluating eventual investments here, that we have really a lot of time to proceed to the downside. Now, we cannot forecast whether we will have a shape of this kind or a shape of this kind. But we can say that for the time being, we have to return back to 22.53 Swiss francs in a time range between December and March, April 2025. We have had also the close of a T plus 3 on this swing. So here we have a T plus 3 in development. And you see that the price was really pushed back once the T plus 3 upward cycle was closed, because now we are basically developing another new T plus 3. So here the situation is that we can have some bounce back to the upside, but the tendency is negative. So now we have 25 bars, which is a minimum duration to close a T plus 2. And here, if we gauge total duration for the upward cycle, we have 18 days. So the idea here would be either to proceed to the downside before having a bounce back to the upside to begin a monthly um, a monthly downward cycle and the close of a monthly upward cycle, but then the trend will be to the downside. So the first target would be this one at 22.53, but then we have other level of prices. One another important swing is this one at 20.33 35 Swiss francs, and so on. So here it's the forecast regarding the situation for the next weeks. So be careful, bounces to the upside, but then return as the main trend here for the T+5 to the downside, and also to basically continue this negative yearly cycle. Okay, so that's the situation that we have on UBS. We were really watching closely this candle, because here we have the what the market reveals for the next weeks and next months regarding the main trend. So let's jump to the next one. So the next one is Swisscom. So we were saying in the last analysis that from here we could have expected a T+5, and given that this T+5 has been broken with this candle to the upside, then the trend can be extended for the minimum duration of a T+5 to the upside. At the moment, we have reached a total duration of 112 bars, and from this top we were expecting the beginning of cycle which could have been a T+3 or a T+4. So we were actually about to close a cycle that could have been a T+3, a T+4. Now the market revealed us that this upward cycle is a T+3, not a T+4, because we spent 22 bars below the top. So here we can put a T+3, and this T+3 is positive. So we can extend the rally for till a minimum duration of a T+3, which is 48 days. So we can proceed to the upside until at least 7 of October 2024. On the other part, so the downward cycle, we were expecting also to close a potential T+2. We haven't done analysis in between during this period, but this was actually not a T+2, but it was a T+1. So here we have to update the chart with a T+1. But you see that also in this case, the analysis was correct. So we were expecting the closing of this negative downward cycle, and then return to the absolute tops because of T+5 that has a positive shape. Now, if we gauge the total duration in terms of the downward cycles, here we have reached 121 bars, and now we are basically having a strong push to the upside because another T+4 or potential T+4 is in development. I keep saying potential because we have to wait also its minimum duration above this low, which in this case is of 25 bars. So yes, we have also the minimum duration. This is a T+4, and we also broke up this checkpoint or this price level to say that this is a T+4. So very flourishing situation or setup for Swisscom. So basically, in the best case scenario, this cycle can last until for a median duration, which is generally between 58, 60 bars, so until end of October, or best case scenario will be end of November. Okay, so end of October, medium case scenario, end of November, best case scenario. There is nothing else to say at the moment, so we will go over the next one, which is Geberit. So Geberit is a new entry because in the last video that we issued, Geberit was not there. Therefore, here it is the situation. So from this low that occurred on the 26th of October 2023, we have had a new T+5 downward cycles that is divided in the first T+3 and the second T+3. But some of them gives the T+4, which is the 6 months downward cycle, which is positive. And now we are basically on the second T+4, which is divided in the first T+2 and the second T+2. The sum of those gives a T+3. Now we are on the second T plus, potentially second T+3, because here we don't have enough bars for a T+3, or we have to wait a little bit more. And here we are bouncing from this supportive moving average 200 period. So that's the situation on the downward cycles. I will complete to basically give the summary of the analysis shortly. Let's move to the upward cycles. From this top, we have added the T+4, which belongs to the T+5, which was made on the 2nd of May 2023. And this T+5 finished its duration here on the 28th of May 2024 after a total duration of 268 days. So now we are on another T+5 that started on the 28th of May 2024, and this T+5 has done the first T+2 and the second T+2. So here we have potentially the beginning of the T+3. We don't have enough bars now to say this is a T+3, but this T+3 needs at least 13 days or 13 candles below its top to develop the shape of the cycle. And here we are bouncing on the moving average 200 period. Now, if we combine the situation of the upward cycles and downward cycle, this T+3 at the moment doesn't have too much strength because we haven't, for example, refilled back the gap down that occurred on the 31st of July. So here we have a situation in which there are two price levels to keep monitor for the future direction of the price. So first of all, let's gauge the total duration. So the total duration is 24 days. So here from this low, we could potentially give birth to a T+2 downward cycle. But we would be really close to the potential T+3. So if we gave birth to a T+2 and the T+2 has to push the price back to the upside for at least a week, and here there is a T+3, well, generally it's a situation that is pretty seldom unless we have a strong volumetric tendency, which is not really the case, because if you see Geberit, we from December 2023 until now, we have price range which is between 571 Swiss francs and 476. So we are not really in an uptrend or a downtrend. Therefore, here we have to keep monitor two price level. The first one is this at 547 Swiss francs, and the second one is at 501, because these are the two critical swing in which a cycle can turn into positive or negative. So if the upward cycle will turn into positive, then we can have a further push back to the upside, or if we break this low, then we will have a push to the downside. If we also gauge the total duration of this T+5, we have 217 days, but from here we have 192 days, which is the minimum duration of a T+5 eventually. But given the fact that we haven't had so much strength now, we will need to wait again for the closing of this T+5. Like this. So here it's really important to monitor if the price will stay below, above the moving average 200 period or below. This one, this weekly cycle was already negative, but we have had a duration of 6 bars. We potentially from tomorrow onwards, we can also extend the downtrend until duration which is 8 to 11 days. So let's see how the price will behave in this area, especially at 518 Swiss francs, and the two price level are this one and this one for having a more precise forecast regarding the uptrend or the downtrend. So this was the last analysis of our video. I hope that you get valuable insights from our analysis. If you did like the video, you can always comment or put a like and subscribe to our channel to get notified as soon as possible regarding the future video analysis that we're going to issue on your favorite stocks. As these are analyses that needs to be watched freshly or as soon as possible, then the subscription is the best way to get notified, so that you can be aware ahead of time, or let's say aware as soon as possible regarding market moves, so you cannot be so you will not be entirely surprised. If you want to have more insights regarding our analysis, you can directly go to the introduction to T-cycle analysis in our playlist. So thanks for watching and see you to the next episode.